Today we're exploring the story of Isaiah, a really central figure in biblical prophecy.
Absolutely. A man living in Judah, during a pretty complicated era,
Yeah.
divided kingdoms, shifting
Right,
powers.
the context is key. Isaiah 1.1 mentions his work spanning the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah. That's quite a stretch of time.
It really is. And his base is Jerusalem, a city steeped in the laws and history of God. He grew up there.
And interestingly, even when things seem, well, prosperous under King Uzziah, 2 Chronicles mentions his success because he sought God.
Hmm.
Isaiah was already seeing issues bubbling beneath the surface.
Exactly. That's a fascinating tension. On the one hand, apparent success, but Isaiah, he noticed the problems, didn't he? Social injustice, for one.
Yeah, that gap between rich and poor. He speaks quite strongly about it, right? In Isaiah 5, verse 8.
That's the one. Condemning those grabbing up houses and fields, leaving no space for others. It makes you question what real prosperity looks like.
It does. It wasn't just economic stuff. He was also deeply concerned about, well, their spiritual direction.
The drift towards idolatry, yeah, worshiping false gods, a real departure from their core beliefs, and Isaiah saw the danger in that.
And then there's a big external factor looming.
Assyria, yes. Their growing power cast a long shadow, creating a lot of fear in Judah.
Which naturally led to looking for quick fixes,
Yeah.
alliances.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The temptation was strong to team up with, say, Egypt. Isaiah 31.1 warns directly against trusting in their military might, the horses, the chariots.
Instead of trusting God.
Exactly. It's that classic dilemma. Rely on what you can see and touch or on someone less tangible.
So it's against this backdrop, internal issues, external threats, that Isaiah has this incredibly powerful experience.
The call. Yeah, this happens around the time King Uzziah died, so maybe 740 BC. Isaiah chapter 6 describes it vividly. He's in the temple.
He sees God.
He sees the Lord seated on a throne, high and exalted. Just imagine the scene, God's presence filling the entire temple. It must have been staggering.
Overwhelming, I'd think. And there are beings there, too. The seraphim.
Yes, these angelic beings with 6 wings, 2 covering their faces, 2 their feet, 2 for flying, a very specific, striking image.
And they're crying out.
Constantly, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. It's so powerful. Isaiah 6 says the sound shook the temple foundations.
Wow. Just the sheer holiness of it all.
That's the core of it, this intense focus on God's absolute holiness, and it immediately throws Isaiah's own state and his people's state into sharp relief.
Which leads to his reaction.
A profound sense of his own unworthiness. Isaiah 6.5, woe to me, I cried, I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips. He's utterly undone in this divine presence.
It's a raw moment of realizing his own sinfulness and the sinfulness around him.
Absolutely. You can almost feel his terror and awe. It makes you think about encountering something truly pure, how it exposes everything else.
But it doesn't end there. It's not just about condemnation.
No, it leads to purification. One of the seraphim takes a live coal from the altar, think about that imagery, and touches Isaiah's lips.
Symbolizing cleansing.
Exactly. The seraph says, see, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin atoned for. He's being prepared, made ready.
And then comes the call itself.
God's voice asking, whom shall I send and who will go for us?
And Isaiah's response is immediate. Here am I, send me. No hesitation.
It's incredible, isn't it, that instant willingness, maybe it's the combination of awe, terror, and then this profound experience of grace and cleansing. He's ready.
But the mission he's given, it's tough, really.
Extremely. The God basically tells him, go speak my words, and this is the hard part, they won't truly understand. They'll see, but not perceive.
So his words are meant to harden their hearts. That sounds quite severe.
It does. Isaiah 6.9-10 is stark. It's meant to make their hearts calloused, their ears dull, their eyes closed. It raises complex questions about, divine purpose and human response.
And Isaiah, understandably, asks how long this situation will last.
For how long, Lord? He asks. And God's answer points towards significant judgment. Cities laid waste, the land desolate.
A bleak picture.
Very bleak. But even within that judgment, there's a glimmer of hope. God speaks of a remnant like a tree stump left after cutting.
The holy seed.
Yes, Isaiah 6.15. That stump holds the potential for new life, for future restoration. Even in the midst of destruction, hope isn't entirely extinguished.
So armed with this complex, challenging commission, Isaiah steps into his public role. What are his first targets?
Well, idolatry is a big one right out of the gate. He confronts it head on.
In Isaiah chapter 2.
Right. He talks about the land being full of idols, people bowing down to things they made with their own hands. And he warns that this misplaced worship will lead to them being brought low.
It makes you think about what constitutes an idol today, doesn't it? Where we place our ultimate trust.
It really does. And alongside idolatry, he hammers away at social injustice.
We mentioned that earlier. The leaders, the elders.
He calls them out directly in Isaiah 3, accusing them of crushing the poor, taking plunder that belongs to the vulnerable. God's heart for the oppressed is just so clear in Isaiah's words.
He doesn't mince words.
Not at all. But it's not just critique. He also issues this passionate call for change, for repentance.
What does that look like in practice?
Isaiah 1.1617 lays it out. Wash and make yourselves clean. Stop doing wrong. Learn to do right. Seek justice. Defend the oppressed. Take up the cause of the fatherless. Plead the case of the widow.
So true worship isn't just rituals. It's about concrete actions. Justice, compassion.
Absolutely. Your faith has to translate into how you treat others, especially the vulnerable. It's deeply integrated.
We're using that parable of the vineyard to illustrate the consequences of not doing that.
Yes, the parable of the vineyard in Isaiah 5 is incredibly powerful. God is the owner who does everything right for his vineyard Judah, chooses the best vines, protects it, provides for it.
But it yields bad fruit. Sour grapes.
Exactly, despite all God's care. And the judgment is clear. The protective hedge removed, the wall broken down, left to become a wasteland. It's a stark warning about unfaithfulness.
Now, shifting gears slightly, Isaiah also interacts directly with the kings of Judah during some pretty tense political moments.
Oh, definitely. Like with King Ahaz, when Syria and the northern kingdom of Israel teamed up against Judah.
That must have caused panic in Jerusalem.
Huge fear. Isaiah 7 describes it. And God sends Isaiah, along with his son Shir-Jashub.
Whose name means a remnant will return.
Right. Even the son's name is a message. They go to meet Ahaz.
And the message from Isaiah is basically, stay calm.
Be careful, keep calm, and don't be afraid, essentially. He tells Ahaz not to fear these two kings, calling them mere smoldering stubs of firewood. Basically, their threat is limited, temporary. Trust God.
But Ahaz isn't convinced.
Well, God, through Isaiah, even offers Ahaz a sign, any sign he wants, to bolster his faith.
And Ahaz refuses.
He does. He couches it in piety. I will not put the Lord to the test. But it likely stems from a lack of real trust. He's probably already leaning towards political solutions, maybe seeking help from Assyria.
And it's in response to this refusal that Isaiah gives that famous prophecy.
Yes. Since Ahaz won't ask for a sign, the Lord himself will give one. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel, God with us.
A prophecy with massive future significance.
Immense. Though rooted in that specific moment, its resonance carries far beyond Ahaz's time.
Let's move forward to King Hezekiah. There's another significant interaction there during his illness.
Right. Hezekiah becomes deathly ill. Isaiah initially comes with a harsh message. Put your house in order because you are going to die.
Wow, blunt.
Very. But Hezekiah's response is prayer. Deep, heartfelt prayer, pleading for his life.
And God responds.
He does. Before Isaiah has even left the palace courtyard, God tells him to go back.
And the message changes.
Completely. God says he's heard Hezekiah's prayer, seen his tears, and will add 15 years to his life. Plus, deliverance from Assyria is promised.
An incredible turnaround. And there's a sign for this, too.
Yes, a miraculous one. The shadow on the sundial, the steps of Ahaz, goes backward 10 steps, a clear physical confirmation of God's promise.
These interactions really highlight Isaiah's role, not just as a spiritual guide, but also as someone giving, well, political counsel, grounded in faith.
Absolutely. His warnings against relying on Egypt, for instance, were constant.
We touched on that. Trusting horses and chariots.
Instead of the Holy One of Israel, Isaiah 30 and 31 really hammer this home. He saw that seeking security in earthly powers rather than in God would ultimately lead to disappointment and disaster.
And history bore that out, particularly with the Assyrian crisis.
When Sennacherib's army besieged Jerusalem, Hezekiah eventually did turn to God in prayer, influenced by Isaiah. And the deliverance, as described in Isaiah 37, was miraculous, directly validating Isaiah's long-standing message about trust.
Isaiah's focus wasn't just internal to Judah, though. He spoke about other nations, too.
Oh, yes! He delivered oracles, pronouncements of judgment against many surrounding nations: Babylon, Egypt, Ethiopia, Moab, Damascus, Tyre.
What's the significance of that broader scope?
It underscores God's sovereignty over all nations, not just Judah. Empires rise and fall, but God's purposes stand. The prophecy against Babylon foreseeing its eventual demise, or the mixed judgment and future healing predicted for Egypt, it all points to a God whose view and influence are global.
And a key concept running through his prophecies is the day of the Lord. What does that entail?
It's this future time of divine intervention. A day of judgment certainly for the proud, the lofty, those who disregard God. Isaiah 2 paints a picture of everything high being brought low.
But it's not only judgment.
No, crucially, it's also a day of hope. It's when God will ultimately set everything right, vindicate the faithful, and correct all injustice. So it holds both warning and promise.
And woven into all this are some truly remarkable prophecies of hope and future restoration. Just stunning visions.
Absolutely stunning, like the prophecy of the branch from Jesse in Isaiah 11, a future ruler from David's line, filled with God's Spirit, bringing wisdom and justice.
Someone who understands the needs of the poor and judges rightly.
Exactly. And then that incredibly beautiful imagery that follows.
The wolf and the lamb living together.
Yes. The leopard with the goat, the calf with the lion, and a little child leading them. It's this picture of perfect peace, harmony restored throughout all creation. Just breathtaking.
It really is. And then there's the suffering servant in Isaiah 53.
Ah, yes. Profound. Describing someone who takes on the pain, the suffering, the punishment of others.
By his wounds we are healed.
Precisely. Someone whose suffering brings peace and healing to others. For Christians, this points unmistakably to Jesus, but even within its original context, it's a radical idea of redemptive suffering.
And the visions don't stop there. There's a feast.
A great banquet. Isaiah 25 describes this feast on God's holy mountain for all peoples. Rich food, aged wine. And crucially, God will swallow up death forever and wipe away every tear.
An end to sorrow, death itself defeated. Incredible hope.
And culminating perhaps in the promise of new heavens and a new earth in Isaiah 65, a complete renewal where the former troubles are forgotten and Jerusalem itself is recreated as a place of joy.
For the people facing exile later on, these words must have been anchors.
Immense sources of comfort. Think of Isaiah 40. Comfort, comfort my people. That tender opening declaring their hardship is over, their sin paid for.
And the image of God as a shepherd.
So gentle. Isaiah 40.11, God tending his flock, gathering the lambs in his arms, carrying them close. It speaks of such intimate care, even in the midst of hardship.
And reassurance, too, like in Isaiah 43.
When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. Just this absolute promise of God's presence and protection, no matter what they face.
It's fascinating how God even uses foreign kings in his plan, like Cyrus.
Yes, Isaiah names Cyrus generations before he exists, saying God will use this Persian king to bring about Israel's restoration, even though Cyrus doesn't know God personally. It highlights God's absolute sovereignty, working through anyone he chooses.
And the restoration isn't just political. It's joyful, transformative.
Isaiah 55 talks about the mountains and hills bursting into song, the trees clapping their hands as the exiles return. And Isaiah 44 promises God will pour out his spirit, water on thirsty land, signifying deep internal renewal.
And of course, the connection Jesus himself made.
Reading Isaiah 61 in the synagogue, the Spirit of the Lord is on me, and declaring it fulfilled in himself. That's a powerful moment, linking Isaiah's prophecies directly to his own mission.
Isaiah's later visions continue this theme of radiant hope, extending outwards.
Definitely. Isaiah 60 calls Jerusalem to arise, shine, for your light has come. Even as darkness covers the earth, it's a beacon of hope.
And it's not just for Judah.
No, Isaiah 56 explicitly includes foreigners who join themselves to the Lord, making God's house a house of prayer for all nations. It's incredibly inclusive.
Like the desert blooming in Isaiah 35. A symbol of life from barrenness.
Exactly. And that ultimate vision of peace in Isaiah 2, swords beaten into plowshares, nations learning war no more. Just imagine.
Plus physical healing, the blind seeing, the deaf hearing.
The lame leaping, the mute singing. A complete end to suffering. Total restoration.
It feels like a constant message. Don't get stuck in the past. God is doing something new.
That's Isaiah 43. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. It's a forward-looking hope.
But delivering these messages, especially the harder ones, wasn't easy for Isaiah. He faced resistance.
Oh, absolutely. People didn't always want to hear the truth. Isaiah 30 mentions them saying, do not prophesy to us what is right, speak to us pleasant things, prophesy illusions. They preferred comfort over reality.
And he undertook some, well, Unusual actions to get his point across.
Like naming his son Shir-Jashub, a remnant will return a constant walking message. Or going stripped and barefoot for 3 years as a sign against relying on Egypt and Cush. That takes serious commitment.
Walking naked for 3 years. That's dedication.
It really shows his obedience, his willingness to embody the message, no matter how difficult or embarrassing. And he consistently stood against the political tide, urging trust in God over alliances.
Despite the pushback, the potential danger.
He persevered. His faithfulness in delivering God's word, whether it was popular or not, is a huge part of his legacy.
So looking back at his final prophecies.
They really encapsulate these major themes. The Lord's anointed in Isaiah 61, bringing good news and freedom. The renewed vision of new heavens and earth in 65 and 66. Jerusalem restored as a light to the nations in chapter 60.
And that great invitation in Isaiah 55.
Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters, and you who have no money, come buy and eat. Such a beautiful picture of God's grace, freely offered to all who recognize their need.
Underpinned by God's promise of an everlasting covenant, faithful love.
That unwavering commitment from God, it's the bedrock beneath all the warnings and promises.
So if we try to boil it down, what are the key takeaways from Isaiah's life and message for us today?
Well, I think it speaks volumes about faith, about courage, the courage to speak truth even when it's unpopular. Perseverance is huge. Trusting God's plan even when it's hard to see. Holding on to hope, especially the hope centered on a rescuer, a Messiah, and that constant call to justice and peace in our own communities.
His words, though ancient, feel incredibly relevant.
They really do. They challenge us, comfort us, inspire us. Isaiah's journey offers so much as we navigate our own complex world.
It leaves you thinking, how do we cultivate that kind of deep trust in God when facing our own modern-day anxieties and pressures? And how do we hold on to that powerful hope Isaiah proclaimed, even amidst the brokenness we see around us?
Those are definitely the questions to ponder. Balancing that call to righteousness with the incredible promise of restoration is a tension and a hope that still speaks profoundly today.